we talk all the time about when LeBron might retire. Why would he do it now? Before the trade, totally get it. Now, he's got his city that he wants to live in. He has a son on his team. He has the coach that he wanted them to hire. And now he has the perfect teammate. So my question to you is, do you think that the Luka trade could extend LeBron's career?
Does LeBron look like a guy who's slowing down?
Not even a little.
What Luka has been able to do by being there and being able to be this playmaker, and let's not leave out Austin Reeves and the playmaking leap that he's made this season, because that certainly is a part of this too.
And he's never going to see another double team for the rest of his life.
Never. He's going to cook the rest of the year. LeBron has become a hammer, like that big time season, that 12-13 season in Miami. I mean, just supreme efficiency, cutting to the basket. And he's got a better 3-point shot now that he's taken from 30 feet. He's shooting like 43% or something like the last
elite
month.
3-point shooter.
Yeah. He became a freaking knockdown 3-point shooter.
When he gets to that spot on the left above the break, it's
in. It's in. And then obviously, now that Luka is drawing so many eyes, LeBron's just cutting, he's just very simply cutting to the basket. The other night, he's just like directing traffic off ball for Luka to throw passes. LeBron, number one, he looks re-energized, which is funny because he's been having a great year. The last couple of months, again, he's been playing like a top 10 guy. And I would say the last month, 5 weeks, 6 weeks, top 5. And all NBA, I think that when you consider all the guys who are not going to hit 65 games at this point, even Jaren Jackson is now questionable, right? Yeah. To hit 65 games.
Giannis is a little shaky too.
Yeah. So some of this is attrition, right? But LeBron's season, I think, deserves recognition in that way. I think if they keep this up, there's a world this guy should be on an MVP ballot even. And I don't see why a guy doing that at his age, as long as he can continue to stay in shape and avoid injury. And now that they have a workhorse, I think LeBron can rest more. Like he'll be able to take more back-to-backs off going forward if he's going to stay in LA. I mean, why couldn't he play 5 years?
Right.
Listen, I'm older than LeBron. I don't feel much different day to day. And listen, I don't play professional basketball, but I understand the rigors that are involved in it very intimately. I am still an athlete. I do a sport, but I feel just as good as I did 15 years ago. LeBron has access to way more resources than I do. He's probably got someone that does his meal prep for him. You know what I mean? Like there's so many things to working to his advantage. And I think Luka is even he's a rising tide for all of that. So if LeBron was going to play another 3 years, which I think is totally believable, why not 5 now? I mean, what age did Tom Brady retire?
So I'm glad you brought it up. I think he was 40. Was it 45?
I can't remember if he did 45 or 43, but I think that that's a number that would be in
45.
If I'm trying to think the way that I think LeBron and the folks around LeBron think, number one, it would either coincide with being able to take over an expansion team or to beat Brady, because what else is there for him to do as a professional athlete to show that he's, got the greatest longevity, had one of the greatest athletic careers ever. You put him up there with any athlete in any sport. And I think the comp goes to Brady, right?
Yep.
So I think that maybe he tries to go to 46.
I don't see why not. He could just keep signing 1-and-1s until he decides that he doesn't want to do it anymore.
A team will sign LeBron James. You will sell LeBron James jerseys.
Well, why not do it with the Lakers the whole time, right? This is an ace pitcher, having to throw 100 pitches a game and then just being like, I'm just going to be a closer, play me 1 or 2 innings, and I could do this for another 3 or 4 years. I got you.
Right.
And that's essentially what Luka has allowed LeBron to do. And LeBron could still be one of the great closers. We saw it the other night. Luka carried, I forget which win it was, but Luka carried him for 3 quarters, and then LeBron just had a monster 4th quarter. And I was like, oh my God, that's it. That's the whole thing. That's the formula right there. And in terms of picking his spots, he's been so much better defensively. since the
Oh,
Luka trade. It's been night and day.
the Jokic game. Okay, so
Yes.
the game plan against Jokic where they're fronting him and they're throwing 3-4 bodies at him
Hachimura
sometimes.
was great in that game too.
Yeah, and I worry that they're going to miss Rui, if he misses much time. But he was just super physical, right? And so in that game, LeBron, that was a defensive masterpiece from LeBron. And he's always been a really good rim protector. Low key, that the title run that they went on in the bubble was predicated on Anthony Davis and LeBron James wreaking havoc at the rim. I mean, they were just monsters around the basket. And LeBron is a backline helper. Number one, you save his legs a little bit. But number two, I mean, he obviously loves to block shots. But the other thing is that he's been guarding on the perimeter in a way that I haven't seen him do since, I don't know, playoffs in Cleveland even.
He was picking up Kawhi the other night one-on-one.
Yes. And he'd never, normally when Kawhi's out there, he's like, oh, I don't want to do this.
Yeah. There's that famous meme oh, man, he's coming back in.
He's been invigorated, man. And this is one of the cooler seasons. I mean, in my opinion, one of the cooler seasons of any athlete, but definitely for LeBron James. You're kind of right here. And look, narratively, if the Lakers wind up winning the title, wouldn't I kind of feel like, oh man, we should have seen this coming? All because of LeBron, man, and the way that he's been. The defense has just been amazing.
So I don't think that there's any doubt. Even going back to the Olympics, I remember coming out of that Olympics and just being like, oh, he could still be one of the best 10 players in the league.
This is why I felt the way I felt about the Warriors, man. I mean, Steph Curry, right? Flamethrower. I'm just they put a top 5 level defense around him, which they did. And okay, now you just got to get to the playoffs. And then obviously they had calamity along the way. But the Lakers, it was the other way. It was, man, LeBron's so good. Can AD do stuff? And they were doing pretty well. I mean, remember this run that they're on started with AD. AD gets hurt, and then I think things started to be a little clear for the Lakers. They would never admit this, but I think them being able to maintain the defensive level without Anthony Davis made them realize a few things about how Anthony Davis actually worked and functioned in their defense. Great as an individual defender, gets tons of the stats show up for him, but was never lifting that defense into the top 5 category. And so that makes Anthony Davis a little bit more expendable. And I mean, obviously, if you get Luka Doncic,
right, especially when Nico Harrison calls and they're like,
do
you want Luka?
The most insane thing about this, I mean, and it's funny. Well, not funny. I mean, I hate that Kyrie got injured, but in this, sort of public statement Nico makes about Kyrie's injury, he brings up Kobe. And of all the people, right? You think about Kobe. I think that the Kobe stuff with the Nike folks, it seems to be very important. The mentality, right? Rob Pelinka, I thought was the most Kobe guy ever, and he traded for Luka. But apparently Nico Harrison is even more of a Kobe guy because he was
clear that all Nico wanted to do this entire time was have Kobe and Shaq, and he was Kyrie and Anthony Davis. That's my Kobe and Shaq, and you're like, cool. That happened 20 years ago, Nico, and those are 2 of the top 10 players of all time. No disrespect to Kyrie or AD, but those are not quite that. The Tom Brady part, one last piece there.
Yeah.
I even wrote about this for RealGM right after the trade, the morning after the trade, after I was done kind of figuring out what had actually happened there. Tom Brady doesn't win that last Super Bowl if he doesn't go to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Right.
Going to Tampa, sunshine, brought Gronk with him, got a bunch of his guys with him, re-energized Tom Brady, and got him, obviously the supporting staff that he needed to win that next Super Bowl. And I was always kind of wondering, does LeBron have a Tampa Bay Buccaneers in him somewhere? Does he leave? And that was sort of the first thing. Does he leave and go somewhere else and join the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and just win one more ring and narrow the gap between him and MJ and continue the comparison between him and Brady? Well, it turns out just implanting Luka is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Tampa Bay came to LeBron.
Right. Tampa Bay came to LeBron. And now I think this is a whole other thing where he looks more energized. Everything that we were talking about there, we are not even close to understanding the ramifications of the Luka Doncic trade here. One of the ramifications could be there is a % chance that it settles the GOAT debate.
No. No.
If LeBron gets somehow 2 more and ties MJ,
It's there.
We don't have to do
In
this,
my
but
opinion, no. I actually would love to do this. I try to do this whenever possible because
okay.
I try to think about peaks,
Yeah.
not just longevity, because I think longevity is greatness, right? Like, and greatest of all time. But when we're talking greatest of all time, we mean the best. We don't mean the guy who had the longest career. If you hang out long enough and you're that good, and LeBron is amazing, and he's been the best player in the league, multiple seasons. Right? I'm not saying that he's not. You are going to collect things, right? It's like a video game, man. You will collect things. The scoring title, that's fantastic, but like that is a longevity thing. He didn't take any time off to go play baseball. You know what I mean? Like, okay, but at their peaks, who scared you? Who was the guy that you couldn't guard? Who was the guy that changed the game? And I mean, there's one GOAT, man, and that's Steph Curry. So that debate is over. Now, if we're talking like, hey, who's the greatest champion and winner and all these things? I mean, I think Steph Curry holds up in that conversation too, because he has 4 rings in LeBron's quote unquote era, right? Against LeBron, even head to head at the time when the league is the most skilled, right? This is the best the NBA has ever been. It's the hardest it's ever been able to win a championship. And he's done it 4 times. And I think like as we get further and further removed from the dynasty eras and we start seeing, one-off champions, maybe the occasional, we get a back-to-back, I think we'll have a little bit more respect for Steph and what they were able to do in that, and think about it. They would have had the 2019 title had they not had 2 catastrophic injuries to, 2 Hall of Famers in the finals. So I think about Steph is the GOAT. Now, if the debate is the Michael Jordan versus LeBron debate, I mean, I think that that's a different one. And I don't know if LeBron gets to win that debate by getting 2 more championships.
We're obsessed with new, just in general.
Yeah, we are.
We're always obsessed with new.
Yeah.
The way I've always thought about this argument is if you just swap everything LeBron did, take everything LeBron did, put it in the 90s, take everything that Jordan did and put it now when LeBron is doing it, there would be no question that Jordan was the GOAT because he'd be 6-0 in the finals and he'd have all the things and he would do all this stuff.
Exactly.
I know it's not as simple, but like if somebody just goes 6-0 in the finals and does it as dominant as those Bulls did it, there would be no question and we would just be there.